Hello students, today we are going to discuss the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act. Let us start with the historical aspect of this act. In Hindu Dharmashastras, not much has been said about guardianship. Due to the concept of joint families, a child without parents was usually cared for by the head of the joint family. Further, it was well accepted that the king is the guardian of all the orphans, thus no specific laws were required regarding guardianship. During British period, guardianship was primarily based on the extension of paternal authority. Thus, after parents, elder brothers, paternal uncles and then maternal relations used to look after the interest of the minor. The British also introduced the concept of testamentary guardians in India. The concept of guardianship has changed from paternal power to the idea of protection in modern times, and the Hindu Minority Guardianship Act 1956 codifies the laws regarding minority and guardianship with the welfare of the child at the core. A person below the age of 18 years is considered to be a minor as per the section 4 of Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956. Such a person is not capable of taking care of himself or of handling his affairs and thus requires help, support and most importantly protection, which is usually provided by the parents. However, in many unfortunate cases, parents are not available and in those cases, other relatives or persons come to the rescue. Thus, parents and other people who look after a minor are called guardians in general parlance. As per section 4 of Hindu Minority Guardianship Act of 1956, guardian means a person having the care of a minor or of his property or of both the person and his property. This includes natural guardian, guardian appointed by the will of a natural guardian, that is testamentary guardian, and the third one is guardian appointed or declared by the court, and fourth one is a person empowered to act as such by the order of a court of wards. This list of 4 types of guardians is not exhaustive. A person who is taking care of a minor without authority of law can also be a guardian under the above definition and is called a de facto guardian. A de facto guardian includes self-appointed guardians and guardians by affinity, such as guardians for a minor widow. However, a person does not have right to sell or deal with minor's property if he is merely a de facto guardian as per section 11. Next, we will move on to section 6, which speaks about natural guardian. Section 6 of Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956 defines only 3 natural guardians. For a legitimate boy or a girl, the father and after father, the mother, provided the custody of a child is less than 5 years of age, will be with the mother. Second category is for an illegitimate boy or a girl, the mother and after mother, the father will be a guardian. In third category, for a married woman, the husband will be a guardian. It further states that no person shall be entitled to be a natural guardian of a minor if he ceases to be a Hindu or if he renounces the world completely by becoming a sannyasi. Hereby, father and mother, natural father and mother are meant. Stepfather or stepmother do not have any right to guardianship unless appointed by the court. As per section 7 of the same act, natural guardianship of an adopted son passes on to his adoptive father and after adoptive father to adoptive mother. Position of father. Pre-1956, the right of the father was supreme. He could even appoint a person to act as a guardian after his death even if the mother was alive. This is not the case now. Further, as held in the case of Lalita versus Ganga, AIR 1973 Rajasthan, a father's right to guardianship is subordinate to the welfare of the child. In the case of Geeta Hariharan versus RBI, AIR 1999, Supreme Court held that the mother to be the natural guardian in spite of father being alive, and further held that word after means in the absence rather than after the life of the father. In the case of Geeta Hariharan versus RBI, AIR 1999, Supreme Court held that mother to be the natural guardian in spite of the father being alive, and further held that the word after means in the absence rather than after the life of the father. Thus, if the father is incapable of protecting the interest of a minor due to any reason, he can be removed from the guardianship. Position of mother. The mother is the natural guardian of her illegitimate minors. In case of legitimate minors, the mother has right to custody of a minor less than 5 years of age. This does not mean that mother does not have the right to custody after 5 years of age. In case of Sheila versus Soli 1981, Bombay High Court held that a mother's right to guardianship is not lost upon conversion to another religion if she is able to provide proper care to the minor. Further, in Kumar versus Chetan AIR 2004, Supreme Court has held the mother's right to guardianship is not lost automatically after her remarriage. In all such cases, welfare of the child has to be considered above all, including the convenience and pleasure of the parents. Position of husband. In Hindu Shastras, husband and wife are considered to be one. Thus, it is believed that the guardianship of a minor wife belongs to the husband. However, due to section 13, a court may revert the guardianship to the father or mother depending on the best interest of the minor. Powers of natural guardian under section 8 of Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956. It describes a guardian can do any act subject to provision of this section that are necessary or are reasonable and proper for the benefit of minor or the benefit of minor's estate. But the guardian in no case shall bind the minor by a personal covenant. The guardian cannot without permission from the court mortgage, charge or transfer the immovable property of a minor by way of sale, gift, exchange or otherwise. Lease the immovable property for a term more than 5 years or where the lease ends 1 year after the minor attains the majority. Any sale of immovable property in violation of the above 2 points is voidable at the instance of the minor. The court shall not give permission for sale of immovable property unless it is necessary or clearly in the benefit of the minor. These powers also include right to education, right to determine religion, right to custody, right to control movement, right to chastisement. In the case of Manik Chandra versus Ramchandra, AIR 1981, Supreme Court held that the meaning of necessity and advantage of a minor are quite wide and the courts have the power to widen their scope as per the case facts before giving the permission. As per section 12, no guardian can be appointed for the undivided interest in the joint property of the minor. However, the court may appoint a guardian for the complete joint family if required. Custody of a minor. Custody of a minor is also subordinate to section 13, which declares the welfare of the child to be of a paramount interest. Regarding a child who is at the age of discretion, his wishes are also to be considered, though his wishes may be disregarded in his best interest. That a mother is preferred to father for custody is not right. Better economic condition of father than maternal grandfather is considered to be in favor of the father. In Kumar versus Chetan AIR 2004, Supreme Court held that mother's remarriage is not a sufficient cause in itself to lose custody of a minor. It was further held that convenience of the parents is irrelevant. To ensure the welfare of the child, the custody may even be given to the third person as was given to the mother and grandfather by Supreme Court in the case of Poonam versus Krishnalal AIR 1989. In the case of Madhav Chandra Shah 1997, a father was never active in the interest of a minor and after a long time demanded the guardianship, his claim was rejected. And in the case of Chakki versus Ayyappan 1989, a mother who says she will keep living with friends and may beget children from others was not considered appropriate for custody in the minor's interest. Power over minor's property. In general, a guardian may do all acts that are in the interest of the minor. A third party may deal safely with the guardian in this respect. However, this excludes fraudulent, speculative and unnecessary deals. Before this act, a natural and testamentary guardian had the power to alienate the minor's property if it is necessary as determined by Supreme Court in Hanuman Prasad versus Babu-E Mukherjee 1856. However, this rule has been restricted through section 8. which mandates court's permission before alienating the minor's interest in the minor's property. Also, a guardian does not have any right over the joint family interest of a minor. In the case of Vishamba versus Lakshmi Narayan 2001, Supreme Court held that a sale of minor's immovable property without court's permission is voidable and not void ab initio. It further held that Section 60 of Limitation Act would be applicable when the minor repudiates the transaction. In case a minor repudiates an improper alienation made by the guardian, he is liable to return the consideration. Liabilities of guardian. Since the legal position of a guardian is fiduciary, he is personally liable for breach of trust. He is not entitled to any compensation unless explicitly specified in a will. A guardian cannot take possession of minor's properties adversely and must manage the affairs prudently, and he is liable to render all accounts. If the minor, after attaining the age of majority, discharges the guardian or reaches a settlement of account, the guardian's liability comes to an end. Rights of guardian. A guardian has a right to represent the minor in litigations, get compensation for legal expenses from minor's property, and sue the minor after he attains majority to recover expenses, and he can refer matters to arbitration if it is in the best interest of the minor, and even he have exclusive possession of minor's property. Removal of a guardian. Court has the power to remove any guardian in accordance to Section 13 if he ceases to be a Hindu or becomes hermit or ascetic, or court can remove if it finds that it is not in the best interest of the child. Section 9 speaks about testamentary guardian, which means a person who becomes a guardian due to the will of a natural guardian is called a testamentary guardian. Section 9 defines a testamentary guardian and his powers. That is, for a legitimate boy or a girl, the father, who is a natural guardian, may appoint any person to act as the guardian of a child after the death of a father. However, if the mother is alive, she will automatically become the natural guardian, and after her death, if she has not named any guardian, the person appointed by the father will become the guardian. A widow mother who is a natural guardian, or a mother who is a natural guardian because the father is not eligible to be a natural guardian, is entitled to appoint a person to act as a guardian after her death. For an illegitimate child, the power of appointing a testamentary guardian lies only with the mother. The powers are: a testamentary guardian assumes all powers of natural guardians subject to limitations described in this Act and to the limitations contained in the will. A testamentary guardian is not liable personally for the expenses, and he can ask for the guardians of the property of the minor to meet the expenses through the property. The rights of the guardian appointed by will ceases upon the marriage of the girl. Guardianship by affinity. In Parasnath versus State, Allahabad High Court held that the father-in-law is the rightful guardian of a minor widow. However, this view has not been adopted by Nagpur High Court. Madras High Court also did not hold this view and held that the welfare of the child is to be considered first before anything else. De facto guardian will be dealt under Section 11 of Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, which means de facto guardian is not entitled to dispose or deal with the property of the minor merely on the ground of his being the de facto guardian. There is controversy regarding the status of de facto guardian. Some High Court consider that alienation by de facto guardian is void, while alienation by de jure guardian is voidable. That has been referred in case Ashwin Kumar versus Phul Kumari, Calcutta High Court 1983. While some High Court have held that both are voidable, it has considered under Sri Ramulu case 1949. It is now well settled that de facto guardian does not have the right to assume debt or to gift a minor's property or to make reference to arbitration. Welfare of the minor is of paramount importance under Section 13. While appointing or declaring a guardian for a minor, the court shall take into account the welfare of the minor. No person shall have the right to guardianship by virtue of the provisions of this Act or any law relating to the guardianship in marriage if the court believes that it is not in the interest of the minor. Thus, under this doctrine, any guardian may be removed depending on the circumstances as per case basis, and the court may appoint a guardian as per the best interest of the minor. With this, I hope all of you understood each and every point clearly regarding Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act of 1956. Thank you.